So, morning everyone. For those that don't know me, I'm Lindsay of LW Accounting and Business Services. I'm based here in Barnsley, South Yorkshire, but I do have clients up and down the country, Scotland included. So I'm not restricted to just the local area. So first of all, what I thought I'd do is give you a little bit of background on me, just to explain partly the initials behind my name because they do look a bit of a strange combination for the job that I do. But it'll also help explain sort of where I come from and how I've ended up in the accounting scene where I have and doing the work the way that I do, I suppose. So when I first started work, I left school after doing a Trident placement within the court service, magistrates courts as it was then, that later became HMCTS. Did my Trident there, did some work placement there, worked in all the departments and showed quite an aptitude for computer systems and training older members of staff on how to use them. So when I left college, I was asked to go back by the then manager to implement a tracking system for all the warrants that were issued for fines and enforcement and teach all the old warrant officers how to use it and maintain that system. So I left college in 2023 and worked my way up through the departments to enforcement manager, and started running enforcement events, operations, whatever you want to call them, with the police and benchers, magistrates, judges up and down the country, finding hard to trace defendants, getting them in court, and either sentenced for non-payment or implementing payment terms. So I did a lot of debt collection and conversations on affordability, benefit systems, what was available, what had got people into debt, why they were committing offences, and all the usual stuff that sort of goes with why people offend. I moved from the enforcement department into listing, so dealing with benches, judges, magistrates, legal advisors, case management, getting cases prioritised and moved through the system as quickly as we possibly could, making sure there were no conflicts of interest. So not everybody gets along, as we know. Some judges don't get along with some legal advisors and some solicitors, etc. You have personality clashes in there. So managing that discreetly was part and parcel of the job, getting to know the individuals and who could do what and where. The court system then became amalgamated, so County Court joined the criminal division as it was and became HMCTS, and I moved into the County Court. So I've done both sides, I suppose you can say, from an enforcement point of view and from a management point of view. So I was in charge then of dealing with the civil claims that were coming through, injunctions, family court, and again, managing those individuals in those teams and implementing all the changing software that comes along with new departments and things like that. So we moved softwares, we had to train on how to use that, we had to track its progress and report back up through management, and that ended up falling on me. Whilst I was there, I was asked if I wanted to progress into a legal qualification, and I managed to secure a training contract with the court service, with the idea being I would ultimately become a legal advisor for the magistrates. So not the clerks that you see in the Crown Courts, but the ones that actually sit with the magistrates and help them and advise them on how to deal with the cases in front of them. Whilst I was at college, I actually did get my placement into Nottingham Trent for Nottingham Law School, but I deferred it. I didn't want to go straight to university. I wanted a break from the books after A-levels. So I decided that I wanted to take a break. I took the opportunity to do the work and deferred my placement. So I managed to amalgamate the two then, the training contract with my deferred placement. Started in 2005, graduated in 2011 with my degree and my postgrad. So I did the LPC, the legal practice side of it. But my specialisms weren't in family and criminal, as you would have expected with me working in the court service. I actually decided to go down the corporate route, I suppose, for want of a better phrase. So I did company, employment, commercial. I did a lot of contract. I did wills, estates, the usual stream that you would do in the background, but they all sort of complemented each other. And I enjoyed the company side of it and the employment side of it as well. So that is what I decided to specialise in. And as it says there, I was taught to argue professionally. So the other solicitors that are in the room will know that that is actually quite a good skill, not just from the arguing side of it, but also from the mediation side and the understanding body language and being able to deal with difficult situations and individuals. Whilst I was going through that process, HMCTS was going through a lot of changes, if you may remember, with the change in the legal aid work. The structure of the court service was in the news. A lot of things were going on at that time. So in the background, I had some decisions to make as to what I wanted to do. I was told fairly early on in 2011, just before I finally graduated, that the contract I was supposed to be on was being pulled. So I wasn't going to be able to complete into the route that I thought I was going to be put into. So I had to think again at that point. I didn't want to stay in the court service because there was nowhere for me to go. So I decided, because I'd done the corporate stream, I'd done an accounting module in that is what I would convert to. So whilst I couldn't complete my contract and get the position, I was still in the tie-in for the training contract. So whilst I was in that tie-in, I decided to retrain and go into accounting. So the 2-year tie-in that I had, I retrained as an accountant and graduated within that. And then as soon as that 2 years was up, I handed my notice in because I managed to source a role working in an accountancy practice. So 2015, I changed roles. I had left the court service, and in January 16, I started in my accounting career. So I've been in it quite a while now. I started on the basic level, so shop floor, if you like. I was dealing with clients, booking records in, doing everything from the ground up. But fairly quickly, I got promoted to office manager and then practice manager, implementing new computer systems, dealing with training staff, managing workloads, dealing with incoming work, difficult clients, and not actually doing anything that I wanted to do. I'd ended up in the same role pretty much that I was in the court service, and it wasn't a role that I wanted to be in again. I stayed there for a little while, getting more and more disillusioned by the fact I was not seeing clients. I was just dealing with the day-to-day takeover of the practice, and difficult bosses and difficult individuals and workflows that didn't want to be there. The digital side was coming thick and fast by this point, and the business I worked at wasn't particularly engaged and ready for that. It was quite a battle to implement the Making Tax Digital when it came in for VAT. So not only were we fighting the clients, we were actually fighting the management in there as well, which was fairly difficult. And then, as you know, we all had COVID. So we had a little bit of downtime, working from home, slightly different way of working. And I thought, you know what? I can probably do this. This is something that I want, I could do. I want to do this. I want to help the clients. Didn't get the chance pre-COVID to work directly with clients. We were too busy. Basically, we didn't have enough staff to deal with the level of clients that we had, and it wasn't managed particularly well in that sense. So I thought I would start out and do my own thing. So in December 2020, I handed my notice in, and behind the scenes, it took me about 3 months to get everything up and running for my own practice, getting all the digital stack ready, all the tech in there, getting it trialed and tested and streamlined so that I was ready to onboard clients. I didn't want to be in a situation where I was getting clients and then it was clunky and horrible to work with me getting up and running. So I took the time, I got a temporary job just to tide me over. And then I decided in April I was good to go. So I decided to open up Limited and start engaging clients. So as you can see there, a little bit more on point of what I do now. So all the compliance work there on the left-hand side that you would expect: taxation, VAT returns, bookkeeping, payroll, company formations and closures. I do that as well as the secretarial work. So compliance work is great, but it's getting more and more automated now. The AI is working a lot better now. So the real value that we can add to clients is in the advisory side of it for me. And that is where I wanted to work. I want to work with the clients rather than just dealing with the compliance and here's your tax bill, here's your bill from me as your accountant. I want to explain those numbers a little bit more. So this is where the information on the right-hand side comes in. This is where I'm more focused on working with clients. So offering the digital solutions, because it always seems to be that that's what I'm doing, is implementing software for people to use and showing them how to use it. Budgeting and forecasting, planning and strategy. So for sole traders and smaller businesses, this is really key to help them keep working effectively and efficiently and not lose sight of that goal that they have ultimately at the end of their business and where they're wanting to be. Sometimes you can get lost in the day-to-day and you lose the vision there. Bigger businesses tend to have this in-house. This is where you get your fractional CFOs or your FDs and things like that. But some of the smaller businesses just can't afford that, or they don't have capacity to sit with those particular individuals and absorb all that information. So I can sort of step in and give that in smaller chunks, a bit more advice behind it, a little bit more explanation behind it, and help them just transition into that level of business that we know we need, but we don't always get or spend the time on. I do consultations on acquisitions. I've got a couple of those running at the moment. I've done a few of those. So looking at prospects for clients, looking whether it's financially viable, looking if their business plan is up to par, ready to go to the bank to ask for startup loans or finance or investment. That's not done under free consultation. That is a charged service, that one, because there's a lot more involved in that. But generally for any new client onboarding, there is a free consultation in there, which is pretty much standard practice you would expect from accountants. But the other arm for me really is the access to the referral partners. So I've sort of set myself up with my clients, and part of my initial pitch to clients is that I want to be your first point of call for anything. If you need help with something, whether it's business related or personal or finance, I can probably put you in touch with someone that's going to help you. They're not going to charge you the earth for it, and it's going to be a good service. So this is where my partners come in. So wills, lasting powers, protections, finance, you name it. I've probably got a contact that can help with it across multiple areas that I work in. And clients are now starting to see the benefit in that. So I'm getting more and more messages from clients saying, I don't suppose you know anybody that does whatever. And I was like, yeah, I can put you in touch. I'll make that introduction. So I'll ring the person up first and say, I've got a client asking for this particular service. Is this something you can offer? And then I make the introduction, and I'm getting thumbs up and requests for more of those particular leads and contacts. I had one this week, for example. I've put a client in touch with a finance broker that does stock financing, is wanting to buy bulk stock in. So he's got some backup there so he can mass produce a little bit more, and that seems to be moving quite well. I got a message left from the finance broker saying that was a fantastic lead. Thank you for listening to me. I'll have more of those, please. So hopefully that will go the distance, and that will be a good relationship ongoing. I have the same for vehicle finance. I've got a couple of clients now that go direct to the brokers. They don't actually involve me anymore because they trust that relationship's there. It's worked in the past. That's a little bit beyond just the compliance work. That's understanding what the client wants and hopefully passing them on to the right people. Seem free, so hopefully they feel the benefit from that and it's not dragging its heels. These are a few of the testimonials. I'm not going to read them out because you're all capable of reading, that I've got through different mediums for different work that I've done. So they seem to be fairly consistent in what I'm doing. They like what I'm providing. They understand that I know where they're coming from, that I am contactable, and hopefully I'm offering a good service, and long may that continue if I'm doing things right. So an ideal client for me, these testimonials are from a mix of clients. So some are sole traders, some are limited companies, some are portfolio-based clients, property clients. But ideal clients for me are sole traders and landlords that are fairly well established potentially, but also I deal with new businesses as well to help them through that digital transition that is coming. Making Tax Digital for sole traders and landlords will be coming in. We are still waiting for the confirmation of the turnover, but at the moment, anybody that's earning 50,000 per annum, so this is earnings, this is gross or turnover, not after expenses or net or profit. And it's on the books, so we think to come down the year after down to 30,000. So that gap is getting quite small there. A lot more businesses are going to be brought into that. So while there's no penalties for getting it wrong or misfiling, now is the time to sort of transition over. So that's sort of where I'm looking at the moment, concentrating on to work. New business owners, as I say, because I can help them with that initial business structure, how they wanted to set the business up, what they're wanting to get out of the end of it. And anybody that's still using paper-based Excel or cash books that just need that little bit of a help, just to streamline the bookkeeping, because as we all know, the paper-based does take time. Once the software is working properly for you, it's quite straightforward to use. And it's that two-way communication. So whatever a client is looking at, I can log in behind the scenes and have a look myself and just talk them through how to fix it if it needs fixing or how to do something better. So those are my contact details. It's a bit of a whistle-stop tour of what I do and where I've come from. But that is me. So the best number to contact me on is my mobile. That's why I've not put the landline on there, because I usually am out and about with clients. But the emails I do respond to usually within 24 hours. So if I can help anybody out, or if you want to connect with me, you can do. If you go through the website as well, there is actually a link onto my news feed there as well, so you can subscribe. You don't get any marketing things or anything from me. It's not a hard sell to sign up for anything. It's a free service. It just gives you little snippets of what's going on in the news throughout the week and the month. So you can keep abreast of what's going on. There's a lot of information there as well across industries. As I say, I don't just stick with the finance or the accounting side. I do put information out there about changes in some of the benefit systems that are happening, or the different tax categories, or just refreshers that as well people don't always think or remember offhand, because it can be a while sometimes before we repeat a particular service or we do some research for a particular client. So there's a few reminders in there as well. So have a look, and I'm more than happy to answer any questions. So that is the end of my slideshow, so I'll stop sharing. Yep.
Any questions for Lindsay? I was wanting to ask Lindsay really about your because you're sort of multi-skilled, you're trained in various areas. Do you think one that helps you provide a better service because you understand legal concepts, etc.? And two, do you think your clients appreciate that? And the word gets around that you're a bit different as an accountant.
I think it does. I mean, particularly for the new businesses that come and they're looking at that business structure. Sometimes they don't realise what the difference is between sole trader and limited company. They just automatically think that a limited company will protect them. And as we all know, it doesn't work like that anymore. The protections from the financial side of it and from the contractual side aren't there the way they were before. So I think explaining that difference and the different costings as well in running both styles of business, because limited company comes with a lot more regulation that's attached to it. So obviously the fees tend to be a little bit higher, and the regulation, the obligations are a little bit higher. So I think that does help. I've had a couple of conversations recently with clients where they've come to me adamant, I want a limited company. And I'm like, why? By the time we've got through that conversation, it's like, oh yeah, I see what you're saying. I'll save myself the money. I'll save myself the tax. I'll make use of the personal allowance, which obviously a company doesn't have. So I think it does help from that side of it. And knowing the contacts that I have, they know that I'm thinking along business protections and continuity cover and life insurance and protecting the families, not just the business and the financial assets. So I think that does help a little bit with clients. And I do get referrals saying, well, you couldn't help me with that one because, but can you speak to this person because they're thinking along the same kind of lines as me and they need to hear what you've said. So yeah, I think it does.
Dave, I think, were you going to ask something?
Yeah, this national insurance increase, Lindsay. What are your interactions with clients like with that, and what are their thoughts about it?
To be honest, mine haven't. The bigger businesses that I have with higher levels of staff, to be honest, haven't really mentioned too much about it. They've just sort of took it on the chin. That's what's going to happen. I know one of my bigger clients has decided not to recruit this year. He's just reorganised how the other staff work a little bit just to see what happens. But I think it's sort of got lost in translation a little bit, that it's more like the single director employee companies that are going to bear the biggest brunt of this, because the national insurance is going to kick in earlier than it would do. So in order for a director employee to keep their own national insurance contributions in for the state pension, there isn't a way around really the company having to pay national insurance, because the thresholds come in at different rates. So for the company, the national insurance is coming in at 5,000 income. But in order to keep your state pension ticking the box there, an individual's got to be paid at least 6,500. So straight away, the company's got £225 in national insurance to pay there, even before the individual has to. So it's a little bit of a different balancing act there for those sorts of businesses. Now, bigger turnover businesses, bigger employee level businesses, there are different options available regarding salary sacrifice, for example, if the employees are willing to do it. So the employer can pay more into the pension, it brings the individual pay down, so the national insurance is shifting a little bit. But obviously the knock-on effect for that is the individual's being paid less, so that affects their credit and disposable income, etc. So there are some conversations to be had there to get the best out of the situation, but it is proving very difficult to make everybody happy and save money at the same time. So we'll have to see. I mean, the budget update, if you like, spring budget, spring statement, whatever you want to call it, is next week. So whether there's any alterations or U-turns in that, I know there's a lot of pressure brewing on that because of the downturn that we've had that's apparently unexpected, GDP falling. I don't understand that one, but we'll wait and see. So we'll have definite figures next week after we've had that update.